Have you wondered why we were never meant for one another? You're my hunger, I'm craving for the good times to recover. Now it's gone. You go ahead, keep what I said, keep holding on. I'm sure it's gone. You go ahead, keep what I said, keep moving on. We won't let ourselves down. Hey, oh, gotta let go of your sorrow. All of the love for tomorrow. I know we gonna be stronger than you'll ever know. Hey, oh, you gotta let go of your sorrow. All of the love for tomorrow. I know it's gonna be. It's all good. It's all good. Hey, yeah, yo, yeah. Hey, yeah, yo, yeah. Hey, yeah, yo, yeah. It's all good. It's all good. Hey, yeah, yo, yeah. Hey, yeah, yo, yeah. Hey, yeah, yo, yeah. It's all good. It's all good. Hey, yeah, yo, yeah.
I think we both know, just hold on, you keep going on. You and I, we've been through this phase, so be still and take your time. Nothing can stop us, nothing, 'cause it's you and I. We got each other, we conquer this. It's you and I. Nothing can stop us, no one can stop us. We know that it's wrong to hide from the truth, even though you tried so hard to fake it. You know what you want, don't hold on to dreams, just hold on, you keep going on. You and I, we've been through this phase, so be still and take your time. And nothing can stop us, nothing, 'cause it's you and I. We got each other, we conquer this. It's you and I. And nothing can stop us, no one can stop us.
Go, Sam! Go on, dude! Wait, there's a half!
It's all good. I think we both know. Just hold on. You keep going on. You and I, we've been through this phase, so be still and take your time. Nothing can stop us, nothing, 'cause it's you and I. We got each other, we conquer the city. And nothing can stop us, no one can stop us. We know that it's wrong to hide from the truth, even though you try so hard to fake it. You know what you want, don't hold on to dreams, just hold on. You keep going on. You and I, we've been through this phase, so be still and take your time. Nothing can stop us, nothing can save you. And we got each other, we conquer the city. And nothing can stop us, no one can stop us.
Go, son! Go, Monty! Wait, there's a half!
Hey, oh. everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome the participant of IOSC 2022. Introduce me, Ardin, as the Master of Ceremonies who will guide the webinar this afternoon. For everybody who haven't turned on the camera, please turn on your camera, okay? And in the end of the webinar, the committee will send the attendance link and authorization. So guys, please join the webinar until the end. Before we start the meeting, it will be better for us to pray first. Pray, begin. Pray, end. And also, welcome to the honorable speaker of today's webinar about startup ecosystem in Indonesia, Miss Dwinita Larasati. Hello, how are you?
Good, thank you.
Oh, hi. Okay, so here's the achievement and career highlight of Miss Dwinita Larasati, okay? Yep, so her experiences are in UNESCO Creative Sites Network and focal point of Bandung City of Design, member of International Advisory Council for Creative Industries, Pulsai and Evidence Center or PEC, and so on. Okay, so how do I call you, Miss Dwinita or Larasati? Tita.
Tita is fine, yes.
Okay, so without any further ado, please welcome Miss Tita.
All right, thank you. So, yeah, of course, I'm happy to be here. And, well, I'll try to share my screen now. So, bear with me a bit. Hold on. When I was invited to talk in this class, I was wondering what can I share with you, and the keywords that kept coming to me is this digital economy, startup ecosystem, creative economy, and so on and so on. So I just make a connection between these keywords and take the biggest keywords that are often appear, which is creative, economy, and ecosystem. So in this session, maybe my viewpoint will be heavy more into the subject of creative economy and creative ecosystem. And also, if we talk about startup ecosystem, it would be usually based on digital creative economy and cultural industries. So as mentioned before, yeah, my name is Tita, but the complete name is Dwinita Larasati. So I'm trained actually as an industrial designer. So I'm a product designer. I'm teaching and doing research at the Faculty of Art and Design in Institut Teknologi Bandung, ITB. This is in West Java. But next to my teaching activities and research activities, I'm mostly active in community organizations. So among other, it's not mentioned here, but I used to be the chairman of Bandung Creative City Forum. And currently, I'm also in the expert council of Bandung Creative Economy Committee. I'm an advisory board for West Java Creative Economy and Innovation Committee. I'm currently the focal point of Bandung City of Design in UNESCO Creative Cities Network. Also, I'm deputy of strategic partnership in Indonesia Creative Cities Network, International Advisory Council for Creative Industries Policy and Evidence Center, UK, and a member of Indonesian Academy of Sciences. From these predicates, as you can see, I'm working mostly within the subject of creative economy and creative cities, but mostly how to connect creative aspirations, including creative businesses, to the structural level or policy level and so on, that connects them with the whole ecosystem that would support whatever it is that becomes the startup initiatives, usually from young people, but not limited to, and also usually those young people that use their already creative mindset and so on. So I will explain this to you while I'm going to share these stories. So because I'm working in Bandung, although I was born in Jakarta, but since I did my university in Bandung and I live mostly there now. If we mention Bandung, usually if I talk about it to people outside Indonesia, especially from Asia region and Africa, they mostly remember about this 1955 Bandung Conference. This is like a milestone for ASEAN and African region because we made a statement of our independence. But most of all, the keywords that appear during that event, we still carry this on still today. So those countries who came and did this conference all agree to collaborate in these fields: economy, culture, human rights, peace, and international partnership. And Bandung City has been the people of Bandung has been used to these keywords, and that's also the one of the reasons that when we apply to UNESCO Creative Cities Network as a city of design, we brought those keywords and connected to how we utilize our creativity, how we utilize our initiatives, and yeah, usually it comes in organization and communities to solve urban issues, to solve what we find in our own communities and areas and sub districts and so on. So that's why our argument when we enter the UNESCO network is that we use design actually as a way of thinking to solve urban issues that manage to create values and meanings according to the actual needs of and context. So for us, design is not only a certain objects with certain qualities that you can sell in a higher price because it's design, but it's more about the design thinking. And for us, creativity is a strategy to lessen the gap between people and government, people and policy, and all the stakeholders. And this is talking about the city scale. And we keep making prototypes as our social innovation and also experiments to make rapid improvements that can be conducted by all citizens. That's because the characteristic of the city itself. Bandung City is a city of 3 million people, more or less, and almost 70% of the citizens are below 40 years old. And in Bandung, there are 120 university and higher education and research center. And among those 120, 14 university has the major of design, architecture, craft, art, and so on. So just imagine if this Bandung City people keep coming from all over, not only Indonesia but also the outside region. They come to study in Bandung, and if you go to university, you spend at least 3 to 4 years. So during those years, they would need a place to hang out, a place to express themselves, a place to just be with the friends and so on. And so these young people are the ones who determine the dynamics of Bandung City. So that's why Bandung is full of these young people who are really eager to try many things just to make the hanging place better for them, or just to make the city corners more pleasant for them, and so on. So this is how we come up with a lot of prototypes, you call it. And then these prototypes, as soon as all stakeholders experience the prototype, then they really make that happen permanently or semi-permanently, and so on. I will show you the examples later. And then we move to this bigger picture first. If you see Indonesia, we consist of 17,000 something islands, 200 million people more, and so on. This has always become our challenges, but also opportunities. And our challenges is mostly just about access, basic services, infrastructure, and so on. But if you see from all these diversities and all, they become our richness because we have endless resource of cultures, traditions, and so on as our inspirations. But then we also have this 70% more of productive age. So what do we do with these young people? And then from the whole population, 202 million something, which is 70%, more than 70% are internet users. And among them use it for social media. So there's actually also an opportunity there if we realize that these people are actually mostly now are digital natives and so on. So considering this, movement from Bandung doesn't happen only in Bandung, but also in many cities and regions in Indonesia. That's why when we formed this Bandung, this Indonesia Creative Cities Network, that's because we realized that lots of communities, groups, communities, young people, they form organizations in their respective cities and regions. Young people start to realize that they cannot always rely on the extractive economy or the economy that relies on the natural resources. So we can dig minerals, oils, and so on, but they will perish after some time. And we cannot keep cutting trees faster than they can grow, and so on and so on. So these young people usually they realize that they now can rely on the instead of the extracting economy to intersecting, because then they can intersect their creative powers, their intelligence, their and so on and so on. So they start rely on the creative industries. And from these communities, we got connected because we see that these community forums, they then build network that usually do activities in programs and events that then turn the wheel of economy activities and often becomes solutions in their own respective areas. And if they do it repeatedly, consistently, with the right direction, it will then come up with the social innovation. So since we formed ourselves in 2015, this year in 2020, there are already 240 cities and regencies gathered in Indonesia Creative Cities Network. So these years and these places shows where we have been holding meetings, conferences, and so on and so on. And the more we do this, the more we realize that we actually need a kind of code or say framework, because we are in a very different conditions. So for example, I'm from Bandung. I'm really living in an urban setting, but we also have friends from remote islands, from rural areas, from coastal areas, and so on and so on. So there is no one size fits all rules or regulation, but at least we can make models of how we can express ourselves, how we can grow by relying on this kind of creative economy mindset. So this is the framework. That looks like a lot of circles here, but the first framework that we agree upon is the left one, creative economy ecosystem. Because if you rely on doing industries and having entrepreneurship based on your intelligence and creative minds, then first you see there are four main elements to do that. So in creative economy ecosystem, it is creative economy only if the elements are all there. So for example, it's since we're talking about creativity, it always starts with the person, with the people, or the creator. So there is the creator, the creative person who express himself in many ways. It can come as music or poets or drawings or anything, and that is not a creative economy yet, because it's only him expressing himself. But then they have these products as a result of their creativity, and these products can come in, for example, paintings or song or many things. And that's not economy yet, because there's no transaction, there's nothing. It's just that creator and their products. But then once the product is presented to the people who can appreciate it for a certain amount of, for example, money or other forms of appreciation, that means directing it to the market, and there start to be transactions and so on. So this starts to be tradings and so on. The economy starts there when they want to, in the sense that they want to do this trading of their products, of the creative products. And then there's an R&D process where the creator would receive feedback on their works in many forms, a critics, a review, or many things. Or Also, R&D can means findings of new materials, technology, and so on, including digital technology. So the creator can think about how to improve the next work and so on. And this is a circle, and this is an iteration that we have been using as a model where we can make intervention to the each element. And next to it, you see the hexahelix stakeholders, because in the creative economy activity, sometimes, most of times, you know that you cannot work alone, but there's always a lot of this the stakeholders who can be involved in advancing the work. So there's first academia, and there's business sector, communities, government, and so on. And the context is here is within a urban setting, an urban scope, city or agency. Next to it is that Indonesia Creative Cities Network then produced 10 principles of Indonesia Creative Cities. All members of ICCN are committed to implementing these 10 principles that complies with the SDGs. SDGs have these 4 pillars: people, planet, prosperity, and now there's also peace and partnership. So whatever you do as a program in your city, as a creative economy organizations, then you would always remember these principles. And then the last one, Chata Ekadasa, 11 ways to implement the principles. This is for the cities and agencies who sometimes ask, okay, we want to be also a creative city, how to start or how do we do it? Then we say, okay, just choose from these 11 ways what best fit your situation, what best fit with your cities and agencies. So it can come in the cross-community forum, committee, ecosystem, and so on and so on. So this framework has become a consensus of all our members. So if they want to do business or they want to make an enterprise and so on based on creative industries, creative economy, ecosystem, and so on, they can use these tools. These tools, by the way, are already written in published in ICCN white paper on creative city, and it's being distributed to our members and to our local governments members. These are some of our policy recommendations, public sharing, and so on. So ICCN not only write this kind of guidelines for their members, but we also exercise if our tools, if our framework also works for the international communities. So that's why we've been involved in these publications. For example, the Global Solutions Network, we contributed to the Rome Charter Agenda for Cultural Rights, and later we also contribute for the policy recommendations for G20 engagement groups since 2020. So in Riyadh Urban 20, we produced this policy recommendation called Inclusive Creative Economy and the Future of Work, because we realized that young people, especially because I'm teaching in a university, it is very obvious that students, once they graduate the university, they no longer want to work for a company, for example, or to become government employee. Since they are studying already, they already have their own brands or companies or whatever. So we are catching that phenomena, and we try to see what can support this kind of notion for the future of work. And then came the pandemics, and of course, the whole world was in pause. But then, if you want to continue, how would you continue? What tools can you use, and how would you measure yourself in there? So we've also been exercising with more policy recommendation and Think Tank 2021. We have a policy recommendation about resilient creative economy, sustainable development, recovery. And this year, because Indonesia is hosting the G20, we're talking about the next economy, how to recover together, and what is the next economy actually. So in creative economy, people are usually, some are focusing on the creative side of the phrase, but there's also the economy side of the phrase, which we should also take care of, and how we see them, especially for us in the global south, usually there are more establishments that are, for example, informal. So we also talk about informal economy and gig economy and so on and so on in these publications. This is just a bit of example maybe of what we did during the pandemic. So when it happened in the early 2020, the whole country was at pause, and the government was also, they have to gather lots of substantial data in order to give grants or to provide helps to the people, because the economy was in pause. Nobody can go out, nobody can meet in marketplaces, everything's closed, and so on and so on. But they still need to eat, and including cultural workers and so on and so on. So during the time that the government still has to regain the data, we as a community that have access to the grassroots level, we then make this program called Solidarity Action of ICCN. We make 5 task forces, as you can see here: the fast response, data collecting, reskilling, upskilling, online courses, and local brand champions in these phases. So we see that the pandemic, for the pandemic, we see the 4 steps. That's first is to mitigate and survive. This is a quick action to help first, and then to recover, and then reestablish and develop and grow and sustain. And this is not just one line, because as you know, the pandemic came in the second wave, third wave, and so on. So everybody has their own phases. But in each phases, we also are prepared with this. If you see that number 1 to 15, with the 15 programs that we implement depending on which area you are. So on the right side is a picture of what we've come up with during the pandemic to help the government while also gathering data, but also to help creative workers, especially young people, when they have to stay home, but what to do then? So how can we still be productive or still get connected to the market, to our audience, to people who appreciate our works, and so on and so on. So in a way, this is how a network can function during this kind of emergency situation, because we understand each other, we speak the same language as creative entrepreneurs, and so on and so on. I'll stay a bit long here because this is actually an elaboration of the creative ecosystem that I mentioned before. You see, if we talk about creative economy, we should talk about the whole ecosystem, because it matters about the creators who do or who are their source, the brains of the works that are created. And if you're a creative person, either you're a songwriter, you're a painter, you're anything, you would need education. You would need knowledge. You will need space to work. You will need data. You will need some financial support to develop yourself as well. You will need professional associations that would help you make a benchmarking, have a peer partners, and so on and so on. And once you have your work, it comes as products or services. Then you have this system. If you want to produce them, make them into reality, you want to even manufacture it. If you see the potential for markets, and so on and so on. And then you go, you take your products and service to the market, to audience who appreciate it. It can come as a shop, as a stage, for example, or cinema. But that's where you deliver your products. And then you again need this sub element that support the main elements, and then the R&D and so on. So here in this mapping, we make an effort to identify which part can the government take role, or which part can they contribute, because as creative people, including creative entrepreneurs, they can be independent. They can do everything by themselves if they create their own effort to make this business. But still, at some part, they would need the support from policy. They need support from investors, and so on and so on. And this is where we can identify them. This this mapping was made in 2014 when Indonesia was about to define what can creative economy be for them, and if the government has a institution for creative economy, in what field can they contribute to this the whole economy, creative economy communities. So based on this as well, we've been developing the models that you saw, the platform, and also with further development. From these slides and some slides afterwards, I'm just gonna show you the creative economy that is based on tradition, because normally it's called cultural and creative economy. And this is in Bandung. We have so-called Bandung Death Fest. This is a revival of Sundanese traditional music and arts, but in a kind of concert, like heavy metal concert and so on. So we do it in the steps: connect, collaborate, and commerce. In a way, how come this metal band gets famous for their music? And metal music is like that, the loud and rough and so on and so on. But then they become so famous internationally, and they got invited all over the world, not because only of their music, because metal music is similar everywhere, but what makes them different is in their music they include the cultural part of Sundanese culture, whether in the ceremony before the concert start, or in their attire. They're using the head gear that is typical to Sundanese, and so on and so on. And they mix it with one of our traditional show. Some people would call it the bus, but it's really a show where you step your own cheek and so on and so on. So in a way, that makes them unique, and that actually provides opportunities for local workers to provide this. You have a concert, but then outside the concert, you can buy the merchandise, you can buy many things of the bands. So these kind of activities provide opportunities for entrepreneurs at the grassroots level to make use of this whole ecosystem. And if you can see at the poster there, usually if you see a metal band, you see this like letters, fonts from hell. But then for Sundanese band, they use also the traditional letters. As you can see under the Bandung Death Fest there, those are Sundanese letters. Another thing is this has been much influenced by the subsector of game, animation, everything digital. This game is called Inheritage, and they popularize traditional elements through game application and character design. So it's a game of the fighting game, but then you choose the characters based on, actually those are some regions, cities and regencies in West Java. If you're from West Java, you right away could understand if a hero there on the left-hand side, if it has wings, it has these horns, that kind of colors and so on. Oh, she must have come from Bogor, a place where they have bats and deers and so on. So in a way, the backgrounds and the what do you call it, weapons, all are taken from the Sundanese books and traditions, and these are turned by young people who understand the markets and what kind of style and characters they want, and using they work together with programmers, IT people, and so on for the game. So in a way, this has opened huge opportunities for the development as well. And especially young people nowadays, they are more apt into the digital facilities. This is another effort using we see digital technology here as a tool, and it is a tool that is appropriate to use within the context if you know how to enhance the traditional values of things, and then delivering it to the market with the contemporary needs. So in a way, this group makes this J batik software that helps local batik craftsmen to make variations of their batik patterns. They still teach and they still work with handmade batik, like you see at the photos there. But they're providing more options through this software. So they've been training this, and the result is not only batik for cloth, but they also produce batik for shoes, batik for example, upholstery for car seats, and so on and so on. So this has been developed as well by involving different stakeholders in these creative industries. And these enterprises, they have existed in among craftsmen in rural areas, especially in Java, but they also connect to the technology for improving the software. And this is also using digital technology, video mapping, and so on. But in order to make a intervention to the issues of river, this is called "Don't Feed the Monsters." Rivers. It means that if you throw garbage to the river, that means you're feeding the monsters, and then they get alive and make you miserable by having these floodings and so on. But this has been done in a series of smaller events that builds up to the biggest events, which is the video mapping at this one of our landmark building in Bandung. This is we call it Gedung Sate, and now it's the office of the governor. It's huge building in the middle of the city. So they project the video mapping in this building. Before that, we have weeks of intervention, small ones, that they send images in social media. They make short, just a couple of seconds videos in YouTube showing that the monsters are there already in your sewers, in the smaller body of water, and they make projections of this character, Naradewa, running, being chased by the river monsters and so on. And there are more offline interventions as well. So you don't only get the digital images, but also people can experience the whole narratives of this "Don't Feed the Monsters." So in a way, this also provides jobs for young people who like to make characters, drawing, learn digital, make for example background sounds, and many more. And this studio is still going on. So the others that I mentioned before about the intervention to the city to solve urban issues that is done by communities and local people. These are just a bit of examples of what we have done. What design, what prototype, and what creativity is for us. So we provide, for example, public art in public parks for the issues in the river again, bike sharing system, and these are all done by community at the city level without the government intervention. But once the government saw, for example, this bike shelter, that it can be done and it can be done pleasantly, and they start providing the policy and they start providing the budget to make bike sharing by the government. And this has been our program since we unite ourselves and make this organization, that we want to make prototypes of how things can work, of what things can be. And if usually my friends who are in a digital technology business, game animation and so on, this is their typical way of making prototypes, user testing and so on. But in this case, this is in a urban setting. So we work on that minibus is called angkot. It's typical in Bandung public transport that you take anywhere, but it's not very pleasant for everybody. But they have no choice, so we make it more pleasant. We make a social experiment by making it really fun to ride only for one day. But during this one day, we also take data and so on, and we can provide the data to the government and to the organization who runs the angkot. And then we did an intervention to the urban forest where that was about to get demolished. But when we use social media, we use the also conventional media to tell the public that forests actually worth a lot. And then we work also with people in rural areas. On the right-hand side at bottom, you can see several people at the urban villages. we've been working with them to make intervention also in their kampung according to what they need and what they want. And the latest ones, so the ones you saw before, those are from 10 years ago about, but this one was about recently, because then there are a lot of startups coming in Bandung that is based on creativity and digital creatives. And we've been making urban games that take young people to really build empathy to their city and how they can solve the problem. So we mix from the digital language also with the activity on site and so on for any age. So from the elementary school age up to uh, university students age. Many kinds of game, including about food, about getting lost in a rural area labyrinth, about also about the environment and so on. This is about informal economy and how actually activities that is fun for the, in this case, players and communities, they can actually enhance or help the local food businesses that are already a bit forgotten, because we have now new brands, international brands that are everywhere. You can see anywhere, every city have the same brands for coffee, for junk food, for anything. So these traditional or local or historical food places lost their chance to do the same kind of promotion and so on. So how do we do that without having to do the same promotions as those international brands? So we did it by doing these urban games that, in a way, we use half digital and half analog for the activity. But then all the players usually then use social media and so on to tell the stories. And this we have been done several times in Bandung. So we see the city as a playground. It's a place where you can experiment all the time. And as experiments go, it can go wrong, it can go right, and it can be successful. So that's where you can choose whether things work or not. In a way, those kind of activities then gradually build a kind of organic spaces. So these places you see, this happens to be all in Bandung, in West Java. Some places are idle, but then when young people, they want to build their own company, usually they have their own brand. Usually they cannot afford offices and so on. So all they need is an affordable place where they can work and express themselves without having this pressure of having to pay too much rent and so on. So in the upper left, you can see that's a warehouse belong to the military, and it's been idle for 10 years. So these young groups, they came in, they have all brands in, for example, footwear or graffiti or architecture, everything. But then they unite, they make networks, and they run these places, these warehouses. They make it look nice, they feel nice, and clean it up and so on. And now it becomes an alternative place for young people to hang out. And this was the first phase. And now if you go there, there's already so much change in there. And they are also marketplaces where you can buy your usual meat and veggies. But then when the marketplace is closed in the morning, and then from the afternoon to night, it's empty. So then these young people, creative people, they came there and built their own kiosk, where when the marketplace is over, they can do something else there. Have a acoustic music show, watch movies together, have discussion sessions, have coffee, and so on and so on. And if you come to Bandung, this Pasar Cihapit Market is still having this kind of activity, and it's even building up more. And Kosambi Marketplace, and the bottom left, you see, huge marketplace that is famous for its snacks, and they sell also uniforms and so on and so on. But then there a part of it that's idle as well. So this group of young people also came there, and they want to make a concept where people, young people like them, can sell their own local products, local brand. And this is where you need the ecosystem really, because although they're using the idle properties, these properties still belong to some parties. So they're making agreements with the military. They're making agreements with in this case in the marketplace, with the government, with the manager of the marketplace, and so on and so on. So they've been running this kind of enterprises, promoting local products, making activities within this young people themselves in a way that makes the economic activities going. And this happens also in other cities in Indonesia. As you can see, this is at the South Sulawesi, in East Java, and so on and so on. So this will be my last slide. And as I told you before, we have been taking all these examples, models, experiments, and so on to form a kind of formulation of how young people using the creative economy can build up towards the SDG. And in this chart, this is taken from the policy recommendation of 2020 Riyadh. This is an argument that creative economy is actually a sector that is most inclusive for women, for children, for people of any abilities to embrace technology and to keep working, building themselves through these kind of steps. You can see this is the pandemic that is written there, 2020, but actually we have a lot of disruptions nowadays. So not only the pandemic disruptions, we also have digital disruption, and now we have conflict disruptions among nations. And how do we overcome that is by making young people or young workers realize that they can use their creative energy, they can use their intelligence, and also connect to these academic research institutions, governments, business sectors, and so on, to move forward, but while also creating works by using their creative potentials. So all these papers that I showed you before, they can be accessed online if anyone is interested to look into it further. And with this, I end my presentation. I hope it fits the purpose. Thank you very much.
Okay, Ms. Kita, thank you for your presentation. Ms. Kita has already presented a very good material in startup, and maybe some of you are still confused. You can ask the question now to Ms. Tita, but please raise your hand first and I will choose the person. Okay, there's one question from Elia. Hello. Hello, Elia. Can you turn on your camera? Great. Oh, you're still driving. Your microphone, please. Hello.
Morning.
Good morning. Good afternoon.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. I want to commend the speaker. Did a nice job. I would also want to solicit that we are able to get the materials, all of the materials that we need.
Yes.
So it'll be available to us in our email, so we'll be able to go through all of the materials.
Sure. I'll send it to my to
Like
the
the research
organizer.
papers she just mentioned towards the end of her presentation.
Yes, of course. I will hand it to the organizer later after this. All the links, those are all downloadable. Thank you.
Okay. There's another question from Ruth. Hello.
Yeah, good afternoon. Yeah, this time you call my name clearly. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and thank you for your great and really interesting presentation. Basically, what I interest the most is the last part is talking about the transformations of the old and abandoned place, like can be a warehouse into market or something that will attract youth together. So my question is that do you think it's gonna work in every situation. Like in Cambodia, there are so many abandoned places, but some places gonna like related to the culture, can be a place where can be a historical place. So do you think startup should or should should choose that kind of place to transform those places into the place as you mentioned? Can you understand my question?
There's Miss Rita. Hello, Miss. Okay,
Hello. I was out for a while. Sorry.
it's
Connection.
okay. Ah, yeah,
So
it's okay.
so I should I recall the question again?
Please do.
Yes. Basically, as what you mentioned before, at the end of your presentations, I heard about the transformations of the abundance as well as the old place, like the storage, like a warehouse into the place where the youth can gather. Yeah. So basically, in there's not only in Indonesia, but also in Cambodia, like there's so many places that was abandoned, but some places can be related to the historical place that haven't organized or like they haven't preserved as the heritage of the country. So from your perspective, do you think youth as far as a startup company shall take those places and transform that place just like to a modern place where the youth can gather as the example that you mentioned?
Right. Thank you for the question. It is
Thank you.
interesting because also in Bandung we have lots of historical building, and they are categorized into classes. So building heritage class A, you cannot do anything to it. You are not allowed to change any of it, and so on and so on. But if you can see the repurposed buildings in Bandung, these young people turn it not into modern look or whatever we see in malls or shopping malls, but they make use of the old elements to add values to that place. Because if you can see this, if you know the term placemaking and so on, it doesn't mean that you demolish the old building and build up a new one, but it's more into make use of what we have, repurpose it into what we need now. So the warehouse that I showed you before, it is now still as big as the warehouse. It's still retained its huge windows and walls and all, except the ones that are broken and dangerous. But it's now turned into a place that is different from another. So that's the concept that we somehow keep in mind as well. Of course, some places are really tight, like ICCN has its headquarters in one of the A-class heritage building. So we really don't do anything to it. Just clean it up and then add chairs and cables and internet and so on. But then we keep it like that because there are rules to not ruin the shape and so on. I hope that helps.
Yes. Another question is that, do you think is if a group of youth or startup company is going to transform can you like as what you classify is that the heritage type A and type B. So the type A is kind of we cannot touch anything on it, but for the type B you can do anything. But do you think that if they give rights to youth as well as a startup company to transform or like just make it more usable, so do you think it's going to affect the heritage or the historical place or not?
Yeah. That depends on also on the startups that they're making. So usually, well, in Bandung, we have a community called Bandung Startup Community. It has more than 200 actors of startup actors and brands. Mostly like 90% are in digital. So usually they have their own spaces. They don't have to gather in one office, as you can see, because they're working digitally remotely. But if they have these places, it does affect if really, if for example, if they have to welcome a guest from somewhere, they would need a place that is comfy enough to receive their guests. So this heritage building actually give a plus value to their business as well. But if you go to Bandung and see, there are some small spots where old buildings are turned into offices. They also have their own uniqueness. So I don't think so far, because this startup usually they don't have so much resource to turn down a building and turn it into something new, because it is expensive, and you see those buildings have owners and they have taxes. So as long as it's so that's why these startups rather choose buildings that are really on the grassroots level, like marketplaces, warehouses, and so on. Because real heritage buildings usually they have some unaffordable aspects as well. I hope that helps.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much for your answer. Thank you.
Okay, Miss Tita, there's one question from the chat box from Hinako Yamagami. Okay, let me read it for you, okay? I'm Hinako from Japan. Thank you for the presentation. There are various cultures in Indonesia. Then how does it affect the startups? Thank you.
Thank you. To answer shortly, how does this affect is positively, but can be negative as well, because in culture can mean anything. It can mean traditional culture, so from different backgrounds or tribes, but culture can also mean are you native to the digital culture, or are you digital natives or not, or are you analog natives, and so on. Culture can also mean are you really urban or are you very rural. So those kinds of difference actually adds up to the value of the startup itself. And if I look at my student startups and my friends startups and so on, these differences actually enrich the way of thinking. So because we're used to working with design thinking methods, and the more variety you have in your group, the more opportunities you have to enrich the result and the answers and the solutions that you will provide. So I tend to look into things optimistically and also positively by learning to see differences as enriching. Of course, sometimes there are dramas on conflicts, but that is common. So it's just make us more experienced in dealing with differences. I hope that helps. Hinako, thank you.
Okay, thank you. And there's another question from Osei Anok. Thanks, Bu Larasati, for this amazing presentation. My name is Osei from Ghana. Please, what do you suggest to the youth of Africa looking at how rich the African culture is? Do you think Africa is a potential continent for creative economy? We have some sorts of creative art, though. Yet I can say that most of the youth, especially youth of Ghana, do not like going into the creative market. We mostly depend on the government for work. So please, do you have any advice for us?
Thank you, Osei. Yes, for the first question, Africa is really, really potential because of the cultures and so on. You can see it from for example, music or cinema, movies. They are mostly, no, I mean not mostly, but a lot of them are taken from the African culture or adaptation from African culture. So there is your basic potentials. And then look into your crafts and your dresses and your technology and so on. It's actually really growing. And the advice I can give is only that as long as you as young people can make this kind of sector cool or look cool according to your context, then people would come and flock and try to join it. Because sometimes creative people are they don't really mind what people think of them. They only want to appear, they want to stand out and be different and so on, and just pursue that, and then it happens. Because I know I'm also in contact with lots of creative communities and entities in Africa. So I know that they've been working with the pride of their cultures and so on. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And there's another question from Rakibul Islam. Hello, Rakibul.
Hello. How are you?
Hello. Great.
Okay, so my question is, I'm from Bangladesh. So Bangladeshi cultures at present times, we are see that some people are attaching with digital media like that Facebook, YouTube, and digital both of social medias, but some people are not. So here has a company or startup companies have to both of marketing policy should take in digitally or traditional marketing. So cost will be increased. So as a startup company, what can do they for their cost reduce in marketing?
Thank you. If I don't catch this wrong, the main issue here is access. So not everyone, not every brand or not every startup can have access to digital means of marketing. If that is correct. So usually, I don't know but in Bandung usually there's a body or a community that acts as the intermediary, say. So you don't have to do the marketing yourself, or you don't have to afford the internet package and all the marketing ecosystem yourself, but you go to this body and let them do it for you. So, for example, in West Java, we have this Creative Economy and Innovation Committee. So they're the ones who work on the promotion, work on the digital marketing of the local products, who are usually startups or entities by local people or grassroots people, and they don't always have the means or access to the technology and to the knowledge, but they are being taught step by step. So during those time, it's this committee that does it for them, and that works so far. If that answer is enough, I hope.
So that is clear that digital marketing is important, far important, but traditional marketing also we have to know, or also we have to practice, right?
Yeah, because commodities. For example, you have conventional commodities like vegetables, eggs, meat, and so on, and those are in conventional market. But usually, these bodies there are startups that function themselves as the aggregator, who then connect these say small farmers, and they then open this kind of digital shop, that so they become the distributor of these local products. And in a way, it's not only a conventional way by doing it digitally, but they also add services that makes it a creative economy, like selling them as bundles or batches, or make the posters with the say nowadays language or slangs that young people use and so on. Because after the pandemic, during the pandemic as well, people tend to look into organic products, health products, wellness, and so on. So this is their chance. These startup companies who become the aggregators for smaller industries, smaller farmers, and so on, to promote this digitally. But also, it doesn't have to be always digitally. But this is the way they function themselves as aggregator. I hope that's clear.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm satisfied with your answer. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Rakibul Islam, for your question. Maybe one more questioner. Okay, there's no more participant or people here who want to ask Ms. Nita. Is it clear enough, guys? Okay, I think that's enough. And close to the last question of today's webinar, we have a photo session. So please give your best pose. And don't forget to fill in the attendance form. If you find any difficulties, don't worry. The committee will help you through the chat box. And if you still cannot fill the form, wait until the meeting's end and we will try to reach you out soon. So don't worry. So yeah, let's take a photo. Turn on your camera, please, guys. Come on, turn on your camera. Because this is the last day of the meeting, okay? Tomorrow there will be no meeting again. So please turn on your camera for the last time. Okay, the committee ready? Okay, give your best pose in 3, 2, 1. Once again, 3, 2, 1. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, Miss Tita, for your presentation. And so guys, thank you for joining this webinar. Thank you, Miss Tita, for being a great speaker and such a humble person. I hope your knowledge can influence the participant here. Thank you, Miss Tita.
Thank
can
you all.
leave the
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, may I ask one question? Like, do we have tests tomorrow, right?
Yes, yes.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay, that's all for today. Sadly, I cannot meet you tomorrow because this is the last meeting I can meet you guys. And tomorrow will be only a post test held by the committee, and the test will be sent to your email. Thank you, and sorry if we or the committee have done anything wrong to you, and bye. Yes, Rakibo?
So may I ask the test tomorrow? We don't have to join any meeting, right? We just do what you said. Okay, thank you, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Thank you, Noro. Yes, Rakibo, do you want to ask something?
It's okay. It's okay. Thank you.
Okay, yeah. How's the attendance link? Is it good?
Can we get certificates after this course?
Yeah, the committee will send it maybe tomorrow. Yeah. Is
Okay.
the test scheduled? Thanks, Ali. Thanks, Larry. Yes, no meeting at all. Only post test, okay?
Oh, okay. Tomorrow we'll be having a test, right?
What will be
Just
the
test.
duration of test?
Yes.
What will be the duration of test?
Tomorrow, the exact time, maybe the committee will help me to tell the exact hour. So the participant here can be prepared, okay? If you
Sure, thank
guys
you.
have, yeah, thank you so much, you're welcome. If you don't fill in the link, the attendance link, you can leave the meeting. Thank you.
When we take the test tomorrow, is the submission date immediately, same day?
It is the right from the committee. It's not mine. I'm sorry, I can't answer that question.
Okay, but we can get the response to that via emails, right?
Yeah,
Okay, fine. Thank you.
so you're welcome. The attendance link, please. Okay. The committee will send it again to you. Berta, can you guys share our photo session in Google Drive? I want to say, yes, Siri. Maybe the committee will send it to you in person. Yes, this is the link of the attendance link. The most important thing is the post test tomorrow, okay? So be prepared and make sure you join the test, okay? And if you have any difficulties, don't hesitate to call the committee, okay? The test is not in Zoom, right? Maybe Mas Diego. Tesnya bukan dari Zoom. I think the test is not in Zoom. Yes, the test will be sent by email. So yeah, be patient. Wait until tomorrow, okay? Okay, the participant left here. Are you done? Fill in the attendance link, or do you still find any difficulties? Okay, guys, thank you for today. Have a nice day. Bye.